Yay for cutting off my family after they demanded a $2,000 birthday dinner? My name is Megan and I am 27 years old. All of this started when I was 16. That was when everything fell apart for my family. My dad lost his job. He had been at a manufacturing plant in a town just outside of Cleveland, Ohio for 15 years. One day he arrived with his usual tired smile, and the next he was sitting at the kitchen table with his head in his hands, saying that his entire department had been cut. Just like that. The weeks turned into months. My dad looked everywhere. Stores, warehouses, other factories, whatever he could find, but nothing. The bills kept coming. Electricity, gas, water, rent, food. And my brother Tyler, who was 14 at the time, stayed holed up in his room with his video games as if the world weren't crumbling around him. I perfectly remember the moment I decided to start working. My mom was crying in front of a pile of bills on the table. My dad pretended to read the newspaper, but his hands were shaking. Tyler didn't even peek out of his room. I took a deep breath and said, "I'm going to look for a job. There's a diner near the business park that's hiring. I can go in after school and on weekends." My parents didn't object to a single word. They just nodded with a look of relief that made it clear to me that in that instant, I was no longer just their daughter. I was part of the survival plan. So I ended up working at the Sunrise Diner, serving coffee and burgers to office workers and students, cleaning tables, washing dishes, running from one place to another. The manager, Mrs. Rodriguez, was decent. She adjusted my schedule so I wouldn't have to drop out of high school. I would leave my last class, hop right on the bus, and pull a 4-hour shift making coffees, mopping, and picking up plates. Every 2 weeks I came home with my paycheck and gave it all to my mom, everything without setting anything aside. She always made the same face. Relief mixed with guilt, as if she wanted to hug me and apologize at the same time. A year later, my dad got a job at a smaller company. It didn't pay like his old one, but it was finally something. I felt like I could breathe. I thought, done, now I can quit the diner or at least just work on weekends. But when I mentioned it, my mom told me that Tyler was getting more serious about travel baseball, and the team charged fees for tournaments, uniforms, camps, and transportation that required that extra income. So I kept working. I kept handing over every paycheck while Tyler showed off new cleats, went to camps, and practiced as if everything were normal. The worst part is that I was proud. My grades were still good. I felt responsible. I told myself I was helping my family, that this was the right thing to do. When the acceptance letters arrived in my senior year, I had options. And the day I got the notification for a full academic scholarship at a good local university, I almost passed out from excitement. A full ride, tuition, books, everything. It was a reasonable distance away so I could keep living at home. My mom got nervous at first. "And how are you going to manage school and work?" I told her I could handle both, not to worry. Her face lit up as if I had handed her the solution to all her problems. "Oh well, if you can handle both, then that's perfect, sweetie. Congratulations." And so I started college at 18 and stayed at the diner. I went to classes during the day and went to work in the afternoon. I would come home exhausted, often falling asleep while studying. Sometimes I didn't even remember what I had eaten, but every time I handed my paycheck to my mom, she smiled. That grateful smile that warms your heart and ties you down at the same time. Meanwhile, Tyler kept growing and living as if nothing was happening. He finished high school, spent his time with friends or in his room playing games. He never worked, never contributed a single dollar. I thought, well, when he graduates, when he's older, it will be his turn. By the time I was 20, I had been working for 4 years. Tyler was in college too, supposedly figuring out what he liked, and I, with my dark circles and exhaustion, kept handing over money as if it were an obligation. One night, after a heavy shift at the diner, I came home completely shattered. Tyler was talking about a new video game he wanted to buy, and something inside me snapped. I looked at him and said, "And you, why don't you get a job?" There was a silence. The kind of silence that makes your skin run cold. "I've been working since I was 16. You're 18 now. You could help out." My mom looked at me as if I had said something outrageous. "That's different," she said slowly. Back then the situation was different. Tyler has to focus on school right now, prepare himself well. He can't get distracted by working. My dad didn't even meet my gaze. And Tyler sat there letting them speak for him as if he were a child. Nobody seemed to notice how ridiculous it was. I had been studying and working for years, and it was possible for me but not for him. I didn't say anything else. There was no need. It became perfectly clear to me how everything worked. That pattern continued for the rest of my degree. I worked, studied, and handed over my paycheck. Tyler advanced at his own pace with no pressure, no responsibility, and without contributing anything. When I finally graduated at 22 with a degree in marketing, I knew I had to get out of that house. I got a job at a decent marketing agency with benefits and started looking for a place to live. When I told them, my mom's eyes went wide as if I had betrayed her. "Why do you want to leave? You can save a ton of money here." I told her, "I need my independence." But what I really wanted to say was, "If I stay, you're going to take everything I earn, and I'll never have anything for myself." They tried everything to convince me. My dad talked about family values. My mom cried and said I was abandoning them. Tyler just shrugged as if he didn't even care. Even so, I left. I rented a tiny one-bedroom apartment in an area where the rent feels like a punishment. I did it to breathe, to be far away, to have silence. And even though I wanted to cut ties, I couldn't. I felt responsible, guilty. I told myself I owed them something. At first it was to help pay bills, then it was so they wouldn't be tight on money. And without realizing it, it became about funding luxuries and showing off. So the cycle continued. 11 years after my first job, here I was at 27, trapped in the exact same situation. I was no longer at the diner, of course. I now worked at a marketing agency with big clients and endless meetings. I earn well for my age, but not enough to be supporting 3 adults. Still, every month like clockwork, $1,200 disappeared from my account and landed in my mom's, leaving me with the bare minimum. One afternoon, I was reviewing a campaign for a luxury handbag brand when my cell phone started vibrating. My mom's name appeared on the screen. I let it ring. I was working, but she dialed again, and again, and then again. I answered on the 5th try. "Hello, Mom, I'm at work." "Megan," she said in a sing-song voice, as if she were about to drop the most beautiful news in the world. "I have something wonderful to tell you." I rubbed my forehead. When my mom got that excited, it almost always meant something expensive for me. "What happened?" "We're going to throw a family party, a huge party. Everyone's coming. Your Aunt Susan, your Uncle David, cousins we haven't seen in years, everyone. It's going to be beautiful." My chest tightened. "A party? Why? We don't need a reason to celebrate family." She let out a laugh. "I've been planning it for weeks. We're going to have a barbecue. I already contacted a DJ, and we're going to rent a bounce house for the kids. Oh, and I found a great catering service." I could already hear the cash register in my head. "Mom, that sounds incredibly expensive." "That's why I'm calling you, my love. We need $1,500. I felt the air leave my lungs. 1,500. Where am I supposed to get that from? My mom's voice changed instantly. It was that wounded tone I knew so well. "I thought you'd be excited. We never do anything nice anymore. I know you've never liked being around family." "That's not what I said," I replied, my voice louder than I intended. "But Mom, that's a lot of money. Why don't we do something simpler? Have everyone over for dinner. Play some music on a speaker, and that's it." There was no sound on the other end for a moment. Then she said coldly, "I get it. I should have known you weren't going to help." And she hung up on me. I tried to call her back. It went straight to voicemail. I waited 5 minutes. I dialed again, same result. She was punishing me. It was her favorite trick. If I questioned her plans, she would give me the silent treatment until I caved. The rest of the day was a disaster. I couldn't concentrate. I kept checking my phone, waiting for a message, anything. Nothing. The guilt started eating me alive. The worst part is that a piece of me thought, I can pay for it. It's not that I can't, it's that I don't want to. And that made me feel like a bad daughter. That night I got back to my apartment late, the traffic still heavy. I had already called her several times during the day. She hadn't answered. I texted her. She left me on read. Around 9 p.m. I gave in. I opened my banking app and transferred $1,500 to her with the note, For the family party. I love you. Seeing my new balance made me want to cry. There went my emergency fund, the one I had been building for months. Not even 2 minutes passed before her message arrived. Oh, my love, thank you. I knew you wouldn't leave us hanging. You're such a good daughter. Sorry for how I acted. The party is going to be perfect. During the week leading up to the party, my mom sent me daily updates. Photos of decorations, food lists, her excitement about relatives coming from out of town. Every message squeezed my chest a little tighter. Saturday arrived. I went to my parents' house with mixed feelings. On one hand, I was curious to see what they bought with my money. On the other, I feared seeing it and feeling even more anger. And yes, it looked straight out of a magazine. String lights were hung all over the patio. Tables were set with beautiful tablecloths and rented chairs. Coolers were full. The kind of setup that makes the neighbors peek over the fence. The DJ had professional equipment, as if it were a banquet hall event, and there was a huge bounce house for the few kids that were there. As soon as I walked through the door, my Aunt Susan hugged me. Megan, just look at this. Your mom is incredible. How does she manage to organize all this? I smiled, but inside I was swallowing my comment. Yes. Amazing. The party was at its peak. 30 people, just like she said. Everyone eating, drinking, dancing, and praising my mom. What a host, what attention to detail, how generous. This is the best party they've ever thrown. And my mom, happy, glowing, twirled around, receiving applause as if it had all come from her hard work. My cousin Ashley approached me with a plate in her hand. Your mom really outdid herself. She must have spent a fortune. I nodded and took a sip of my drink. If only she knew where that fortune came from. And then I saw Tyler. He was 25 years old, an adult in theory, but there he was, eating like a king with his phone in hand, not lifting a finger. When asked what he was up to, he would give vague answers. I'm looking at options. I'm searching for something worthwhile. I'm thinking about some projects. I looked at him and could only think, I paid for this. I paid for this party. I paid for him to be here, comfortable, as if the world owed him something. When the last guest finally left, my mom asked me to stay and help clean up. It wasn't a request. It was an order wrapped in a smile. We picked up plates, trash bags, and napkins and put things away. I just wanted to leave by then, but anger had been growing inside me all evening. When we finished, I sat in the living room with my mom, my dad, and Tyler. My dad was half asleep on the couch. My mom was counting leftover napkins. Tyler was still on his phone. I placed my glass on the table and said, "We need to talk." The three of them turned to look at me. I can't keep doing this. I'm done with the money, with supporting everything myself. First, nobody said anything. Then Tyler looked up and started laughing. He didn't just chuckle. He laughed out loud. What's so funny? I asked him. My mom also burst out laughing as if I had told the joke of the year. Even my dad smiled. My mom wiped her eyes. Oh, Megan, you're being so dramatic. This is how this family works. You help out. We're all fine. Why do you want to change it? Because I'm 27 years old and I can't save for my own future, I said. I want to buy something of my own someday. I want to live without counting every penny. Well, you already have your apartment, Tyler said, as if that solved everything. A rented apartment that costs me a fortune because I can't afford anything better, I answered. My mom waved her hand dismissively. You make good money, Megan. Of course you can help your family. I make decent money, yes, but most of it goes to you all, I said. Do you know how much I spend on myself a month? Do you know what I had for dinner yesterday? A frozen dinner again. That's your choice, my mom said. Relax, nobody forces you to eat cheap food. I looked at her with a calmness I didn't feel. You force me when you take $1,200 from me a month. We don't take anything from you, my dad finally spoke up. You give it because you want to help, because you're part of this family. It was like talking to a brick wall. I took a breath and shifted my focus. Look at today. I paid for the party, you took the credit, the compliments. People were congratulating you, and I was left without an emergency fund. The party turned out beautifully, my mom said firmly. Everyone had a good time. Family is about sacrifice, Megan. Why does the sacrifice always have to be mine? I asked. When has Tyler ever sacrificed anything? Tyler put down his phone. I'm figuring out my path. It's different. Different, I repeated. You're 25. I was working at 16. You've had 9 years to figure out your path. Things are harder now, my mom said. It's not the same for young people anymore. Tyler needs time to find a good opportunity. And what about my opportunities? I replied. What about what I want? My mom's face hardened. What you want is to be selfish. We raised you, we supported you through college. Now it's your turn to support us. I looked over at my dad, nodding as if it were the absolute truth. I looked at Tyler, already going back to his phone as if this had nothing to do with him. And right there I understood. To them, I wasn't their daughter. I was their retirement plan. My mom ended the discussion with that same tense jaw she always had. If you don't want to help, then go home. So I left. I ordered a rideshare and went back to my apartment with tears burning in my eyes. I didn't sleep that night. I spent it replaying the conversation, thinking of everything I should have said. In the morning, I made a decision. I wasn't going to text or call them, but I wasn't going to cut off the money all at once either. Not yet. I needed to think carefully about how to get out of this without them eating me alive with guilt. A month went by in total silence. And honestly, it was a relief. A month after that argument, the first of the month arrived, and I made the usual transfer, $1,200. They didn't say thank you. It didn't matter. Then on a Tuesday afternoon, my cell phone rang. My mom didn't even say hello. Tyler's birthday is next Saturday. We're going to have dinner at Vittorio's. Vittorio's was one of those places where you walk in and feel like they charge you just to breathe, the kind of restaurant where an appetizer costs as much as a week's worth of groceries. I reserved a private room, my mom continued. The whole family is going. 35 people. It has to be perfect. It's your brother's day. I already put a card on file to hold the reservation. I was already freezing on the inside. How much? $2,000, she said. Relax, everything is already arranged. You just take care of the payment. I felt nauseous. Mom, I don't have $2,000 right now. Of course you do, she said, as if it were obvious. You make good money. A month ago, I transferred you $1,200, and I'm still recovering from the party, I replied. Megan, everything is already booked. The restaurant expects the bill to be covered on Saturday night. You'll figure it out. And what if I don't go? I blurted out without thinking. My mom let out a short laugh, devoid of any affection. You don't have to come. Just make sure the money is there. And she hung up. I stared at the screen and something shifted inside me. It was neither sadness nor guilt. It was like a door closing for good. I opened my banking app and canceled the scheduled monthly transfer to her account. Then I waited. Saturday, Tyler's birthday arrived. In the morning, I sent him a text. Happy birthday. Have a good time. He answered 2 hours later. Thanks. Don't forget about the 2,000. I smiled and put my phone away. That night, I knew they were at Vittorio's ordering the most expensive things, showing off, expecting me to solve everything for them as always. Around 8 p.m., my phone started filling up with text messages. Where is the money, Megan? They already brought us the check. Answer. They're making us wait here in front of everyone. I didn't reply. I opened my banking app and made a transfer. $1. In the memo I put, this is what you deserve. I turned off my phone, made myself some tea, and ate a piece of cake left over from the weekend. I took a long, unhurried shower and went to bed early. I slept like I hadn't slept in years. Sunday morning, I turned on my phone. I had 37 missed calls and 63 text messages. It was like watching a movie of a family losing their minds. First, the anger. How could you do this to us? You humiliated us in front of your aunts, uncles, and cousins. We had to pay with a credit card because of you. Then the panic. Please answer. This isn't like you. We're worried. Then the bargaining. If you pay us the $2,000, we'll forget everything. We can make a plan. Just deposit it today. Then the manipulative sadness. I can't believe my own daughter would abandon us. Your dad is devastated. What a disgrace. And finally, the venomous acceptance. We see who you really are now. Don't expect us to be there for you when you need it. I read everything while drinking my coffee, and instead of feeling worse, I felt lighter. Around noon, someone started banging loudly on my apartment door. I looked through the peephole. There they were. My mom, my dad, and Tyler, wearing the angry faces of people who are used to giving orders. I opened the door because I knew this was going to happen sooner or later. My mom started yelling from the hallway. How could you? Do you have any idea what you did to us last night? I stepped aside to let them in. I can imagine, I said. Calm down. We had to pay $2,000 on a credit card, my dad said. $2,000? We don't have that. That's your problem now, I answered. Tyler took a step forward, puffing out his chest as if trying to intimidate me. You have to pay us back right now. I almost laughed. No, I don't. Yes, you do, my mom said, pointing a finger at me. You made fools out of us. The whole family was asking about you. Why didn't she pay? It was an embarrassment. Good, I said. Let's see if that helps you understand how I felt for 11 years. This isn't the same thing, my dad blurted out. Yes, it is, I replied. You're my family, and I've been paying for that privilege since I was 16. When does that debt end? When do I get to live my own life? My mom stared at me and said without hesitating, never. Family takes care of family. That's how it works. I nodded, as if she had finally confirmed what I needed to hear. Well, not anymore, I told her. It's over. No more monthly deposits, no more party funds, no more anything. You're adults. Figure it out. Tyler laughed. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. Then we're cutting you off too, Tyler said, as if it were a threat. We disown you. I laughed, and this time tears actually came out, but from laughing. Please do it. They stood there with frozen faces. They had expected me to beg, to break down, to plead, and instead I seemed to be celebrating. My mom lowered her voice. You don't mean that. Of course I do, I replied. In fact, if you want, I can help you pack up whatever stuff I still have at your house, and that's it. Pretend I never existed. Megan, you're exaggerating, my dad said. Let's calm down. Let's talk like adults. This is talking like an adult, I answered him. Setting boundaries, taking control. You all should try it sometime. My mom grew desperate. We won't be there for you anymore. No more meals, no more parties, no more anything. When you need help, we're not going to be there. I looked at her without moving. When have you ever been there? I asked. When have you ever helped me? They stayed quiet. The only thing you've ever done is take my money and expect me to thank you for it. They spent the next few minutes trying out different guilt trips. What about family? What will people say? Your dad is suffering. What an ungrateful daughter I was. I didn't give in. In the end, they gave up and left. I locked the door and leaned against it. I felt such immense relief that I almost laughed again. It was as if I had taken off a backpack full of bricks. The following weeks were not easy. They called me constantly. They texted me from other numbers when I blocked them. Even relatives called to tell me I was being unfair. My Aunt Susan left me a massive voicemail talking about loyalty. My Uncle David wrote that I needed to show respect. My cousin Ashley sent an email telling me she was disappointed. I blocked them all. 6 months later, my life was completely different. Without that $1,200 leaving my account every month, I could suddenly afford my own things and still have money left over. I opened a high-yield savings account. I bought clothes without having to hunt for the cheapest items on the clearance rack. I went out to dinner at normal restaurants. I stopped living with the constant anxiety of being on the financial edge. The money that used to go to my family now went into my own savings, and in just 6 months I had a substantial emergency fund for the first time in my life. Through the inevitable gossip that always leaks out, I found out some things. Tyler got a job at a warehouse. It turns out that when my money stopped arriving, my parents knew how to get tough with him after all. He actually contributes to the household now. It's amazing how quickly he found a job when there was no one left to support him. My mom started working full-time. My dad found an extra weekend job. They no longer lived like kings on my dime, but they were surviving. And I was genuinely glad because they were always capable of doing it. It was just more comfortable to have me do it for them. I also found out they were going around telling people I had a breakdown, that I went crazy and abandoned my family. They can say whatever they want. It's their way of avoiding the truth. The best part came later. With my savings, for the first time in my life, I started looking for a house. No, not to rent, a real house with a down payment, a deed, something that was actually mine. I found a beautiful 2-bedroom house in a quiet neighborhood and put in an offer. Last week, my real estate agent asked me casually, "So, is your family excited about your first house?" I looked at her and said without thinking, "I don't have a family." And for the first time, that phrase didn't feel like a loss. Felt like freedom. I was finally living my life. It took me 11 years to understand that I didn't owe them my future just because they gave me my past. It was the best decision I have ever made. Comment. This story is a powerful reminder of the quiet strength it takes to reclaim your life. Setting boundaries with the people you love is one of the hardest yet most necessary acts of self-care. It is not about being unkind to others, but about finally being kind enough to yourself. You cannot be responsible for everyone else's happiness at the cost of your own. True healing often begins the moment you decide your peace is no longer negotiable. Sometimes you have to make the difficult choice to love someone from a distance to protect that peace. Your future is a precious thing, and you have every right to build it for yourself. I hope this encourages you to listen to that inner voice asking for a bit more tranquility. Remember to be patient with yourself on your journey. You deserve a life that you do not have to constantly recover from. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.